and I will begin this presentation instead of my colleague, Herwig Bauernfeld, who has some urgent private business and asked me to replace him. Is my presentation on the screen? I mean the slides.
It is.
Can everybody see the first slide of my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that we are in sync here. Okay, so let's start. What bitwise does after Firefox? As you might know, bitwise stands for BWW, Bitwise Works Company Limited, which is the full name of the software development company I co-own together with Herwig and Stuart. And I'm also the company's main contractor, meaning that I do most of the software development work for bitwise. Say a few words about Firefox first. Firefox for OS 2 was our primary project for over the last 5 years, I think. Yes, we picked it up at version 10 in 2013 and left it at version 45.9.0 earlier this year. So we spent quite a lot of manpower to keep this product running under OS 2 with a certain amount of success, I would say. I believe everyone here has been using our Firefox build. But some time ago, we realized that we are simply unable to continue working on it anymore. There was just one person, me, who had to do all the Firefox coding work. And Firefox is a huge project consisting of many independent parts, such as the rendering engine, the JavaScript engine, the widgets engine, and so on and so on. The original Firefox team consists of, I think, 100 active developers, and the complexity of the product constantly grows over time, mostly because of this initial design. This is my opinion, which still carries a lot of legacy back from the Netscape Navigator times. And there, I mean, the current Firefox developers simply put technology on top of this legacy, creating an enormous amount of abstraction layers, I would put it this way. There is 130,000 source files in the Mozilla source tree. And this makes Firefox development is a very complex task. So we just realized that we are unable to provide new versions in reasonable amounts of time and with reasonable quality anymore. This project is simply not manageable by a single person. This is the main reason why we stopped active Firefox development in May. But do you hear me there? Is everything okay?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, very good. But you know what? Life does not end with it. Believe me or not, but there is OS 2 life after Firefox. Well, and now I'm going to tell you more about this life, at least from our perspective. Next slide, please.
Yeah, we're there.
Okay, so currently Bitwise works on the following projects. First of all is Enjoy 5, our multi-platform firewall solution for Windows, for Linux, and for OS 2. A new interface for Windows 10 is being worked on, and also a new Qt-based GUI is planned. The next one is Samba Server version 4, which is now being actively developed as we plan to release it soon. And there is also Apache OpenOffice version 4.1.5 and 4.2.0, which is being worked on too, and we plan to release it soon as well. There is also CAPS, well-known cross-platform printing solution that allows you to print to modern printers from OS2. So these are our major projects. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Also, there is a group of projects which we recently started working on or plan to work on in the near future. The most significant one is obviously Qt5. This is certainly our next great project. As you might know, Qt5 is a cross-platform software development toolkit that allows to develop modern cross-platform GUI applications. There are thousands of Qt-based applications out there, and once we have Qt5 up and running, we will be able to bring all the majority of these applications to OS2. Was the case with Qt4, which was also ported to OS2 by Bitwise. But it was 7 years ago when we released the last Qt4 version for OS2. It was version 4.7.3, if I remember it correctly. And a lot has changed since then. And almost all Qt applications migrated to Qt5 over these years. So if we want to have new versions of these applications, we simply need Qt5. And one of our key goals for porting Qt5 to OS2 is actually directly connected to our After Firefox Live. I would say it this way. Qt5 contains a component called Qt Web Engine. And Qt Web Engine is a modern, full-featured web browser engine. In fact, Qt Web Engine is just a Qt-flavored wrapper around Chromium. And Chromium is an open source web engine developed and maintained by Google. The very same web engine is used in their leading software product, the Google Chrome web browser. So, once we have a Qt web engine ported to OS2, we will basically have like 90% of Chrome functionality under OS2. Keep in mind that Chrome itself is proprietary software, so I don't think we will see an OS2 version of it in the near future. But there are Qt-based web browsers which use Qt Web Engine or Chromium under the hood, and these ones can easily be ported to OS2 once we've got Qt5 with Qt Web Engine ready to go. The most interesting Qt-based web browser is called Falcon, spelled with K, not with C. Falcon is a new name for CubeZilla, and CubeZilla is one of Qt4-based web browsers that was successfully ported to OS2 back then, and worked quite well under it, I must say. I think that some of you could even use it back then. Of course, Chromium per se is a huge project on its own. It's comparable to Qt5 in terms of code and porting difficulty. However, both Qt5 and Chromium source code is much cleaner than the Firefox source code. At least this is my opinion again. So I expect it to be easier to port it to OS2 and to maintain both ports in the future. Both tasks are still doable by a single person, especially given my experience in porting Qt3 to OS2, Qt4 to OS2, and of course Firefox to OS2. And in fact, we are pretty far with Qt5 already. The Qt core component is already done, and the Qt network component is already close to its finish. I think I will finish it in a week or so. And the next big one is Qt widgets.
which will take about 4 months, I think. And then comes Qt Web Engine, which contains Chromium inside. And this we will plan to finish in like 6 months. So nearly after a year from now, we expect to have a first working version of Qt5 and its browser component for OS2. Okay, this covers the first two items on the current slide, and the next one is Java. We have a plan to update our aging port of OpenJDK version 6 to a more recent version, Java 7, Java 8, or maybe even Java 9. But we are still looking for developers for this task. Java is also quite a big project, which needs at least one full-time developer working on it exclusively. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay.
Besides these key projects I've just told you about, Bitwise also works on a tremendous amount of third-party libraries and tools needed to build and run these and many other products. Each program requires a number of tools and a number of libraries to build it. The main tools are the compiler and the linker, and the main libraries are the C library, the graphics libraries, the network libraries, and so on. We maintain about 300 separate projects at the present time. Most of them are the software libraries ported to OS2 from the Unix world. Most of these projects are being actively developed, and new versions get released, new bug fixes appear, and so on. All of this needs constant support in order to have it available to OS2. And since the original developers of these libraries and tools dropped OS2 support a long time ago, we have to do all this job ourselves. And it requires a lot of time and human resources to be done. Of course, there is some support from community. For example, Paul Smedley does some nice work, but still the majority of these libraries has to be done by us. And the sad side of this job is that it's completely hidden from the end users. I mean that the end users only use final products like Firefox or Samba, and they usually have no idea how many independent parts these applications consist of. Nevertheless, we've been doing all this shadow work for which we usually don't get any public credit through all these years, and in parallel, we have to do all these complex end user applications as well. I'm saying this just to give you a bit more understanding on how much is going on under the hood here at Bitwise between Firefox releases or OpenJDK releases or Qt releases or whatever, even when these releases don't happen too often. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Are those
There's a
publicly
question.
available?
So these are just some examples of the
Dimitri?
libraries we maintain and applications that use them. There is libdiff and JPEG Turbo used by Firefox, by Poplar, and Poplar itself is a library as well, which is used by CUPS, by GhostScript, by QPDFView. Next slide, please.
Can you hang on, please?
There's a question, Dimitri. Hello?
Sorry?
There is a question here.
Question from the back.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, are they publicly available? Did somebody answer that?
Oh, okay. No, they were asking if all these libraries are publicly available.
Yeah, of course. Everything is publicly available. I will tell more about it in a minute.
Okay.
So I think that there are some duplicate slides in my presentation. Could you please fast forward it to the one that says about get text and then curses?
Courses?
And curses. This is also the library. The first item on this slide should be get text. and the second one is
I don't see
curses.
it.
Okay. Which slide is now on the screen? Can anybody please tell
Okay.
me?
Examples of important libraries that you'll have never heard of.
Examples of important libraries.
Yes, okay, then we should go to the next one, which says get text.
It says all these libraries can be used universally. The next slide.
Then one slide back, please. Sorry for
Maybe it's
discuss.
hiding.
Uh,
Is this open office?
yeah.
Maybe it's hide. With the
Maybe.
escape.
Did you go backwards already?
We're confused.
The last one. Up.
Yeah, the one before
Libraries
the
that were
one
regularly
saying office
updated.
library.
Back. The 7. The 7 is
There.
hiding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is just a duplicate slide. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're
it's
in
not
get text. Yeah.
okay. It's not that important, but anyway, there's also the getText library, which is used by a number of other applications, and there is also ncurses library that is used by ClamAV, SQLite, and so on and so on. And now the next slide, please.
Okay.
So yeah, okay, thank you. Another important thing to mention here is the model of our development strategy. All software libraries that we maintain are provided as dynamically loaded libraries, or DLLs. And this approach is very different from building static versions of these libraries into each application, and gives two key benefits. First of all, since all applications use the same DLL, releasing a new version of DLL fixes or new features makes these fixes or new features instantly available to all applications without a need to rebuild them most of the time. So it's pretty much easy to update with the new versions. And secondly, and more importantly, only one copy of each library is loaded into the system memory, regardless of how many applications running side by side use it. Given that OS2 has limited resources because of its 32-bit nature, this is really vital in case of huge applications like Firefox or OpenOffice. New applications and new versions of the old applications require more and more memory, and we would simply not survive that long otherwise. All in all, this approach saves us a lot of time and energy as we reuse as much of our work and as much of system resources as possible. In a situation where only 3, 4, 5 persons have to maintain such a large amount of software, this is simply the only. And by the way, it also explains why we need to bring a modern, why we needed to bring a modern package manager solution to OS2 RPM YAM in our case. It's simply because it's impossible to install several hundred DLLs by hand while carefully maintaining their numerous cross dependencies. And of course, all software that we create or port is made publicly available to everyone. Most of this software is open source, so it's all source code for anyone to check or to build their own applications upon it or anything else. So I hope now you understand it better, where your sponsoring units go. If you ever sponsored any money to Bitwise, I think now you should understand where we spend them. As they say, good software does not grow on trees. And this is very true in our case. Nowadays, we need support from the community as never before. So please feel free to buy sponsoring units and software licenses from our online shop so that we could continue to provide you with our services. And speaking of that, we are also considering a possibility to introduce subscription services to our software repositories, similar to what Arc Nova is offering. I must explicitly state here that all source code will still remain open, of course, because well, we are bound to the corresponding licenses, and because we believe in open source, but we might go for subscription to our software repositories that contain pre-built versions of the software we develop and maintain. It will be an alternative to one-time donations, which, as we think at least, will let us better cover our development costs. We are still thinking on the details of such a subscription, and we will inform you once we actually come up with something regarding that. Okay, next slide, please.
Okay.
So here are some important links that you should bookmark if you are interested in what we do. The first one is our homepage, where you can find the basic information about bitwise and also the most important news and so on. The second one is the direct link to our online web shop, where you buy sponsoring units or software licenses from bitwise, and also Arc Nova products are also presented there. The third link is a direct link to our software repositories. I mean, to the source code repositories. As you know, and as I already said, the majority of the software we've been working on is open source, and we believe in open source. So this link is a home for the source code of OS supports of most of our projects. You can track our work there with an extreme amount of detail. Every single commit, every single source code change is ended up there, and you can check it. You can see the exact progress, of course, if you are interested, and of course, any new releases also appear on those pages as well. So if you want to know when we release something, a new version of some application, you should also check this third link in the first place. The fourth link is our old software repositories. We've been migrating from Subversion to Git. These are source code version control systems, because Git is a more powerful system, and it has a lot of functions that we need to do our job better and faster. But there are still some projects that we maintain in Subversion at NetLabs, and this third link is where you can find the detailed progress about our work with these projects. So that must be it, and thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, you're welcome. I'm ready to answer them.
Thank you, Dimitri. Is there any questions? No?
Yeah, so I think I will stress it once again regarding all this subscription thingy, that everything we do will still remain open source, so anyone could do anything with it. But as I said, we need to continue to pay to our developers, including myself. So we have to invent something here in order to be able to have our activity up and running and provide you with the new versions of software for OS2.
Dimitri, when you say the subscription service, are you referring to the Patreon page that you created recently, when people donate money monthly, or is a different kind of subscription?
Which page once again?
Patron, a patron. No?
Not no. It isn't directly related to this. This is just an idea still, but we are considering it. It will be something like a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription maybe, and it will give you, if it works out, of course, it will give you a username and the password, and you will be able to. Now all our repositories that provide RPM packages of software are free. I mean, anyone can connect to these repositories and freely download all the software we develop in the binary form. All the DLLs, all the applications, all the libraries, all the tools, everything is available completely for free right now. And we are thinking of making it not available for free. So if you want to have RPM versions, you will have to buy a subscription maybe, or to make a donation. We will think about it more because it's still in the works. I mean, we haven't decided anything yet. I just wanted to share it with you at this stage so that you could also think about it and maybe give us some suggestions and stuff like that.
Okay.
What is the preferred Qt5 browser at the moment?
I barely hear you
Yeah,
from over there.
Dimitri,
So if,
they're asking which is the preferred Qt5 browser right now.
the preferred Qt5 browser right now is Falcon, as I already said. The last version of Falcon was released in this year in May, I think, so it's being actively developed. And it was previously known under the name of CubeZilla. Has anyone used CubeZilla over there? Can you raise your hand? Who knows who CubeZilla is? Okay, so there are a couple of people over there. So CubeZilla, so it's just CubeZilla with the new name. And I think that they changed the name because Qt switched from WebKit to Chromium recently. And of course, the old versions of CubeZilla were based on Qt4. They used WebKit, and now Qt5 provides Qt Web Engine, which is Chromium inside. So they decided to change the name because the WebKit experience and the Chromium experience differs a lot. Chromium is much more standard compilant and stuff like that. So it's much more modern and supports more current features than the old WebKit web engine. So this is the primary Qt5-based web browser, and we will certainly make it available as soon as we have Qt5 ready to go under OS2. And I think it will be quite a nice alternative to Firefox.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Thank you.
So, see everybody online somewhere, and also feel free to file bug reports to the software we do, and to contact us in some other ways to give your suggestions to what we do and to what we should do next. All this is very welcome, so contact us, tell us about what you want us to do, and of course try to support us because we really need it.
Okay.
So thank you then.
Can I ask a question?
And,
Okay, there's a question now. Okay.
What,
there is a question. Okay.
yeah, what compiler do you use currently to build the software?
What compiler do you use to?
I heard this one.
Yeah,
Okay. Our main compiler nowadays is GCC, because the majority of the projects
version
we
now?
are on come from the Linux, from the Unix world, and GCC is the dominant compiler over there.
And which
So
version
this is-
do you use?
Yes. So this is our main compiler. And by the way, we have to port new versions of this compiler ourselves as well. And this task also drags a lot of resources from us because, as you might imagine, a compiler is quite a complex piece of software as well. But yes, we have to do it, and we use it, of course, in our work. And this is, of course, there is IBM Visual Age compiler, but it is very, very, very old. It's simply not suitable to build modern applications like Firefox, like OpenOffice, like Qt5, because the majority of the modern software already uses the new C++ standard, C++11 at least. And of course, IBM Visual HC does not support this standard. So it's simply no way to go.
And what
And
version do they use?
Which version of GCC are you currently using?
sorry, once again.
Which version of GCC are you using?
The current version is GCC 4.9.2, and we plan to update it to version 6, I think. I know Paul Smedley has a working port of GCC version 6, and we collaborate to him, of course, in this area. But the thing is that the GCC team supports older versions very well. So far, GCC 4.9 has all these new features we need to build all these newest versions of the software, like the Qt5 library. So it's not our primary task, but one day we will move to a newer version of GCC, or maybe we will even port CLang. CLang is the next generation of GCC, I would put it this way. Apple has been using it a lot for actually. CLang is the main C++ compiler Apple uses for Macintosh, and we plan to switch to CLang one day, but it will not happen very soon because there are more important things to do.
And what linker do you use?
What linker do you use?
We use the Wetcom linker for the same Wetcom. It's from the open Wetcom package. The reason is just the same. The IBM linker is very old and does not support a lot of new features that we need, and the other problem is that we don't have the source code of the IBM linker, so we cannot extend it, and we need it sometimes. And we can extend the Wetcom linker, and we already did it many times. With the help of Steven Levine. I don't see him here. Is he over there?
No, he didn't get here.
Steve. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you
Are
very
there
much,
more
Dimitri.
questions?
Thank you very much. That's all questions, right? Okay. No more questions.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay, Dimitri.
Okay. Thank you for attending, and I'm really glad to see you all there.
Thank you.
So now I will hang up and have the rest of the party.
Thank you for
Bye.
your time. Bye.
Bye-bye.